It's time now for a roundup of your biggest royal stories of the week.
And with us to tell us all that's happening in the world of royalty is former BBC Royal Correspondent Michael Cole. So, Michael, what I was intrigued about is during the party conference season, the Queen always went to Balmoral. It looks like maybe Charles is. Can you explain what that's about?
Good morning, Esther. Good morning, Phil. And Esther, of course, you've got it, because for years and years, decades, there's been a sort of tacit agreement between Buckingham Palace and the political parties, but the monarch does nothing major during the political conference season because we can't have the King or the Queen, as the late Queen, stealing the headlines, dominating the news, just as the party leader, or heaven forbid, the Prime Minister, rises to deliver their keynote conference speech. So it's very convenient that the monarch stays at Balmoral, enjoying themselves. And that, of course, is what the King and the Queen, Camilla, are doing. They're not actually staying at the castle. They live at Burke Hall, which is a rather handsome house, once occupied by the late Queen Mother. The King doesn't actually like the castle very much. And if ever you look at the castle and you think it looks like Aberdeen City Hall, well, you'd be right, because they had the same architect in the 19th century. So he's up there and the world spins. Prince William and Princess of Wales, Catherine, they've been doing minor jobs, but nothing that's going to drag the attention away. And of course, the King will be basking, quite rightly, in the glory of that state visit to France, which couldn't have gone better. Last weekend, they just were back from that. And it was terrific. And here you've got some wonderful pictures of the Guard Republican mounting a guard of honor for the King and Queen. And she looked great that day. I think this was at the Arc de Triomphe, laying the wreaths there. And it was great, because it was celebrating the Entente Cordiale, which was signed in 1904 and made France and us allies ever since, 119 years since. And before the Entente Cordiale, we'd been at daggers drawn with the French. We'd almost gone to war with them over the Fashoda incident. But the King's great-great-grandfather, King Edward VII, the one with the stomach and the beard and the cigars and the potatoes, he sealed the deal when he met a famous French actress, and he kissed her hand and he said, "Madame, you are as beautiful as France itself." And then, of course, he was a huge hit. And we've been friends with the French on and off. We've had a few bad moments, but by and large, it's been a great success.
On and off might be the operative phrase there, Michael. But I just wondered, this thing about the convention with the party conference, I was quite impressed that the King was wanting to continue with that. Obviously, part of that convention, as you said, is about not getting involved in political issues. I just wondered, as net zero may well become a much bigger political issue between now and the general election, is the King going to be able to hold back and help himself and not get involved in that political debate?
Well, you're absolutely right, Phil, because he's been on the throne now a year and he hasn't made any bad errors. He hasn't entered into over political discussions, and he doesn't have to, because we have the Royal Convention, which means the King has to be informed, can encourage and can warn. He's got a privilege that none of us has. He has his Tuesday night meetings, his audience, or the Prime Minister has an audience of him, to use the correct terminology. And of course, he can make his views known.
But he didn't do that, he didn't do that, did he? Just as Rishi had said, he's going to do the net zero timetable in a more practical way. The King came out and gave his speech in France about the importance of the environment. A bit of I thought, an unnecessary clash. Maybe not.
Well, maybe they were out of step, or maybe Buckingham Palace having that speech would have been okayed by the government. You can bet your life it had been gone over every comma and every full stop before the Prime Minister made his initiative, because as you well know, the party now is reacting to public opinion, and it's tailoring its policies in the hope of finding approval at the next general election, which is just over a year's time. Maybe that would be the limit of it. So I think the people who were out of step there was Downing Street, not Buckingham Palace, because that speech had already been agreed. Of course.
Michael Crick.
Michael Cole.
Crick. Where Michael? We've had so many Michaels on today. Yeah. Mike Parry, Michael Crick, Michael Cole. But thank you, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah.
My pleasure.